This is the American Indians, Indigenous Peoples Truths. Justice for all. The most dangerous show on media anywhere. OCO, Taishu, Shadana Lai, and Halito to you, Leslie.
Halito, Chimichukma.
Leslie, would you do us the honor of giving the land acknowledgement at this time?
I definitely will.
Thank you.
Let's pause for a moment to acknowledge the traditional stewards of the lands that we reside on, and especially their ancestors, descendants, and all indigenous people who live now and have ever lived on this land that we call Turtle Island.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We'd like to make an apology to our audience for the first time ever since we've had a broadcast of Jay Winter Nightwolf Live. We were not able to use our feature, which is StreamYard, to get in to do our live broadcast this evening. There was a lot of traffic on StreamYard this evening, and they just rectified the problem. So we thank you very much for being patient and holding out and waiting for this wonderful show that we're going to have this evening.
Thank you. So, Leslie, should we bring our guest in?
Yes, let's do so.
Okay. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Can't hear you. Unmute.
We're doing fine.
Great.
Excellent.
Hi,
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum to you and your listening audience, or your viewing audience, I should say.
Yeah. So,
How are you?
Who are you talking to? Me?
Yes, you. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Excellent.
You know, Maskeelah and I have been friends for a long time. You know, I remember when she sat on the local station board of that radio station I used to be on. And when any one of those people in the audience would give her a problem, I stood up. I said, you know, you need to shut up. Leave her alone. Nothing but a bunch of nonsense and troublemakers. So I feel that way about all women. Because being Native American, we were taught that women was the first priority of our men. You are supposed to honor them, protect them, provide for them, period. And if you didn't do that, you had hell to pay. And we, you know, I had strong grandmothers and aunties, and my grandmothers were. But anyway, about that. My grandmother would tell you in a minute, if you don't know, you better go ask somebody. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
And my grandmother was I think she had a degree in snatching a switch off the tree. So anyway, let me introduce everybody tonight. Of course, Maskeelah. She is the president of the Substitute Teachers United, formerly an active member of the local station board of WPFW Radio and the Pacifica National Board. She has been a substitute teacher in DC public schools for 8 years. They put up you for 8 years? Welcome to the show, Maskeelah. Anything else you want to say about yourself?
No, nothing else.
All right.
Good.
Now, What's this? That looks like Eva. Is that Eva? Okay, so we got Eva Thompson. She has lived in D.C. over 30 years. She was in education for over 30 years plus. Ms. Thompson retired from D.C. public schools and became a substitute teacher 4 years ago. Her love for children brought her back to the school system to help them reach their full potential. I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to add to that?
And I'm a mother of 3 grown men that I raised in Washington, D.C., because I thought this was a good place to raise children. And I've been stuck ever since raising and teaching children.
Okay, my next guest is that you, Lisa? Unmute.
Yep, that's me.
Okay. You're a graduate. You graduated from St. Louis University, moved to DC from Connecticut in 1987, have been a resident of Washington, D.C. since 1987. And you began teaching in D.C. public schools in 1988, 17 years at Woodrow Wilson Senior High School. Wow. 15 years at the Youth Services Center, the Juvenile Detention Center for DC Youth, and you retired from DC Public Schools in 2019, where you began teaching immediately following retirement at H.D. Woodson High School. You know, it's an honor to see your face and to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add?
It's an honor to be here. No, I'm thank you.
Absolutely. Renee Richmond. Look like my cousin. Renee Richmond is a native Washingtonian. She is a product of the District of Columbia Public Schools and graduated from Woodrow Wilson High School. Ms. Richmond has a bachelor's degree in business management from Notre Dame. Wow. And Maryland University too, right?
Actually, it's College of Notre Dame of Maryland. Notre Dame
Oh, okay.
in Baltimore.
After teaching abroad in Japan for a year, Ms. Richmond worked for U.S. Postal Service, Office of Inspector General as an audit evaluator and special agent. Wow. She began substituting with DC Public Schools in 2013. That's a lot. And you look so young. I don't think you're old enough to have done all of that. You got anything you want to add?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. My next guest is my good friend for many years. His name is Judge Hassan El Amin. And Judge Hassan is a retired circuit court judge from Prince George's County court system. I could tell you so much about this man, but I know he don't want me to tell you everything. But anyway, I love this brother. Welcome to the show, Judge Hassan.
Yes, thank you, Jay Winter. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be your guest, and I'm honored to be among educators.
Absolutely.
I'm honored to be among fighters, warriors.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so let's start this broadcast. Maskeelah, it's on you. Why, after all of these years, did you feel it necessary, you and these other great ladies, to form this organization, the Washington Substitute Teachers United, and you are the president?
Yes. Again, I am Maskeelah-Myrtle Washington. I'm president of Washington Substitute Teachers United. First, thank you so very much for the opportunity to appear on your program. We know how widespread your message is broadcast, and our being here with you tonight is a godsend. During our last substitute teachers meeting, we talked about extending the area of our message, and then you called. Say amen, somebody.
Amen.
Again, thank you. I became a substitute teacher in 2013, as a matter of fact, the same time and day as Renee. During my orientation, I learned that substitute teachers had not received a pay raise since 2008. It was $15 an hour in 2008, and it still is today. It was not until October 2018 that we organized into a solid entity. We became Washington Substitute Teachers United. It was not easy to make contact with other substitute teachers. We could not use their DCPS emails to organize. But once the word got out that we were trying to unify, I got email lists from others who were also interested in organizing. We wrote letters, signed and delivered petitions, visited council members, met with a deputy chancellor several times, spoke to the education committee and the committee of the whole. We got a response when our plight was in the news, but nothing has changed so far. Substitute teachers really love our children and don't want to hurt them any more than they are already. But we have families and financial responsibilities, and we deserve equity from the District of Columbia Public Schools. So on Monday, January 10th, 2022, Washington Substitute Teachers United started doing a day of absence from DCPS each week. We rally at the John Wilson Building, located at 1350 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., rain, shine, or cold, so that council members who can legislate a raise and their staff see us. Most appear to work from home, but we see a few going in and some coming out a back entrance every now and then. We have a bullhorn, so we know they hear us. We get support from people who are driving in from Virginia. They honk their horns and wave. Believe it or not, policemen who have duty in or near the district building have voiced their support as well. Lisa, can you add a little something?
Sure. So,
Appreciate it.
good evening, everyone. I just want to just touch on a few things of actually why we've come together as a commission to do this. Basically, we're embarking on this mission to improve the entire work environment for all substitute teachers. First of all, increased pay. As Myrtle mentioned, $15 an hour since 2008. There was a $2 increase due to really as a result of some media press that we got, and then that changed to a $5 increase, which I want to say that substitute teachers have not yet seen that in a paycheck, and this has been well over 6 weeks. Even with the $5 pay raise, it's still unacceptable, which brings me into the whole thing with benefits. There are no benefits, so consequently, there is no job security for substitute teachers. There's no paid leave. So, for example, even for long-term substitute teachers, particularly during the dark times of COVID, where many teachers were out on long-term absences, substitute teachers were in the schools and substituting when they went back to the schools. But there's no paid leave. There's no paid holiday. So essentially we're per diem. If you go in, you get paid. If you don't go in, you don't get paid. The goal essentially for all of us is to become unionized. Hoping that maybe we can unionize with the Washington Teachers Union. This would certainly guarantee some job security, along with benefits and everything else that goes to tenured employees.
Better pay.
Of course, that's the first item that I addressed. Yes.
Okay.
Increased pay.
Okay, so next, I want to talk to Eva Thompson. Your thoughts on all of this? Why did you get involved?
Well, the reason why I got involved is because, number one, I love children. Number two, I think they should have the same education as their counterparts. And 3 is that they should be able to navigate in the world. Their education is very important. What we do is we bring a lot of knowledge and wisdom to the table. Um, and we care about them. We let them know every day, that the world will not treat you the same way we treat you inside this building because we love you and we want you to thrive. So, my love for children has grown from the age of 13 till now, which is at the age of 72. I've always had children around me. I've always tried to educate them, meet them where they are. Um, it's just the love of children had brought me back. I retired and came back to teach. So that is my reasoning for getting involved. And I think what we're doing will benefit others as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now, Renee Richmond, on your job at the post office, did you carry a badge and a gun?
Yes.
Okay, y'all be careful. Renee, how did you get involved with this? I mean, what was the determining factor that made you want to be involved in this?
Well, I'm a product of Washington District of Columbia Public Schools, and I want to be a part of the school system that helped me to become the citizen that I am now. And from kindergarten through high school, I've been a product of Washington, D.C. public schools. So I became a substitute teacher. I have an interest in education and helping young people at a young age to become productive students and citizens of the world. And one of the things that I felt compelled to talk about this evening is adequate workers' rights and benefits have been an ongoing fight for hundreds of years and one to which we all belong. Solidarity between workers has always been the most effective method in achieving changes within the working class. And together we can meet our demands. It's a matter of communication, organization, and taking action. Addressing this problem is just one of many that need to be solved, and unity among all of us who care about education will allow us to make the changes we want to see in our community.
Okay, now before we go any further, I must let everybody know that I am a product of the DC public school system. Kindergarten, elementary school, Carver Elementary School over in Northeast Washington. They did something else to it. It's not that anymore. High school, Spingarn. And if it wasn't for the teachers that I had, I remember Mrs. Hamilton, who was our English teacher at Spingarn. The first day, she said, "Everybody sit down." I said, "Okay." She must have been 70 years old. And she gave us this book to read with this teeny tiny print, Ivanhoe. And we had to read a chapter a night. I think that's why I wear glasses now. This print was so small. But I was so happy that I had teachers like her. And when I was in junior high school, Mr. Stefanos, of course, he was an Italian guy, but he was the very first one that ever mentioned Native American history. And of course, I heard it through my family, but then I went home, I said, "Mom," she said, "What, baby?" I said, "We got a teacher, and I think he's a white guy, and he's talking about Indians." She said, "Yeah, white people know about Indians." She said, "If you find someone that want to teach you about your people, pay attention." So now I'm getting ready to go to my good friend, Judge Hassan Amin. You've heard all this stuff, Judge. What are your thoughts on it? Unmute.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. I've listened attentively to the introductions and presentations. I myself am not a DC native. I was born in Charleston, West Virginia. But my brother came to live here at 336 19th Street Northeast around the stadium. And I've been coming to DC on and off since at least 1970. I used to come here. One reason is because I found that the most attractive, beautiful African-American females live in the District of Columbia. I mean, from around the world. And I happen to have been lucky enough to hook up with one 48 years ago in Muhammad's Temple number 4 in Washington, D.C., right at 1519 4th Street, Islamic Way. That's still my mosque. That's still my community. And I practiced law in D.C. for 16 years before becoming a judge on the bench of Prince George's County District Court. I love educators. My mother was an educator. She taught high school and even daycare school for 35 years. But my aunt, who passed at age 102, taught school for 45 years. And I have a love for educators. All the papers I graded, I helped mom grade all those papers. And I just want to say this. The reason I'm here is because your invitation, Jay Winter Nightwolf, and I sensed that there was a great injustice being done. One of the things about a judge, being a judge, and being a lawyer, really, is that I love justice. That's why we love Thurgood Marshall so much. That's why we love Ketanji Brown Jackson as she presents herself. That's why we him and Hall when it comes to the current African-American Supreme Court judges, who's been a great disappointment to us, because we know that injustice to anywhere is injustice everywhere. And I just want to, I'm just glad to be a part of a forum that addresses injustice to the substitute teacher. You know, just one little further thought. Everybody talks about, oh, the teaching profession, how much the teachers give. It's so great. But they do lip service. They do not fund teachers properly. The salary of a teacher should be 3 to 5 times what it is now. And if teachers are not respected, what about substitute teachers? Substitute teachers get disrespected by the system and by the students. We all know what we did when the substitute teacher came around. The substitute teacher requires more administrative, more experience, more psychological expertise, and more of a whole lot of things, because that teacher comes in a vulnerable situation, and substitute teachers need to be paid per diem, maybe even more than regular teachers. So this business of $15 a day, $1,875 a day, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? I heard Maskeelah mention that when you all go once a week in front of the district building, people honk their horns. And you have police officers to give you the thumbs up. I would like to make a recommendation that you get in touch with the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, their union. Get in touch with the Firemen's Union, and the unions of every essential worker in Washington, D.C., so that you can get their support and endorsement. Now, when this what's his name? Phil Mendelssohn, please give me a break, who's being a roadblock to you all getting any kind of justice. When he sees that you all are there in powerful form, behind you are other unions that want to know, why aren't you teaching it? Why aren't you treating the teachers fair? I will tell you this. When we wanted to change the name of that Washington football team, I went down there and just walked in on their council meeting. And I had regalia, full headdress. And I told them, you're going to change this name. Because if not, you remember back in the 1970s when the American Indian movement came to Washington, D.C. and took over the Department of Interior, Bureau of Indian Affairs?
Yes, sir.
You're going to have the same thing. I said, because I know that we're strong enough and powerful enough to get the world's attention. Change this name. You wouldn't want them to call that football team an offensive name like the Washington Kites or, the Washington Crackers. No, you wouldn't want that. And just like somebody I know, he says, well, they certainly wouldn't want to name that team the Washington Niggers being in Washington, D.C. I said, no, they would burn the stadium down, So what happened? A year and a half later, well, they brought legislation before the council. A year and a half later, because we protested, what did they do? They would not allow the word redskin to be used again in anything in Washington, D.C. And let me explain something. Then I'm going to go back to you. Do any of you know why the meaning of the word redskin? I can't hear you, Maskeelah. Unmute.
I'm not exactly sure, but please inform us.
Back in the 1700s, when they were trying to get the tribes to submit to not being tribes anymore, we had already established 1,200 nations. And when the European arrived, we had formed our own government. And they didn't like that. So they would get the furriers and trappers and tell them, now this is the government back then. You want to make some money? Yeah. You go out and you kill a Native American man, scalp him, leave the eyebrows on and the nape of the neck, and you peel that scalp off of him. But you have to peel that red skin off of their bodies and put them in that bloody scalp and bring it to us. And I'm going to use figures from today. If you kill a man, we'll give you $1,000. If you kill a woman, we'll give you $500. And if you do that to a child from infancy until puberty, we'll give you $250. That is such a racist terminology. And that's why we didn't like it. And that's why we fought against it to get it changed. So I think DC Teachers, Substitute Teachers Nation, United, y'all need to think about that. Think about who you can get to be your friends.
Most definitely. Can I add something else?
Sure.
I need to tell you, though, that we have obviously caused some consternation with the administration, probably for the city as well as DCPS. When we came out with our demands, they in turn decided to hire retirees, Washington, D.C. public school retirees. They decided to offer them a bonus of $4,500 and $300 a day to come back into the school system. They would get $2,000 right up front, and they would get the $2,500 at the end of the school year. Of course, they had to work 90 days before this all of this could be enacted, before they could get the money, but they would get the signing bonus immediately. They would get $2,000 immediately, and then at the end of the school term, they would get the $2,500. They also offered education aides who wanted to. They offered them. They could substitute teach. Excuse me. They offered them substitute teaching for one day. If education aides, and those are the people who are in classes with a lead teacher, they may be in pre-K mostly, and some could be in first grade or kindergarten. They offered them if they taught for one day as a substitute teacher, at the end of the school term, they would get a bonus of $3,000. Now we are offered what? $15, from $15 to $17. And then they said from $17 to $20. And then long term would get $25. We've seen absolutely nothing of that. Nothing. But I don't, it's just, why are they doing this to us? And not only that, they're going to private agencies, asking them to hire substitute teachers. They pay them more money. Instead of $120 a day, some of them are earning $165 a day or $25 an hour. They paid one agency $2 million to hire substitute teachers. So there are all kinds of things going on to keep us from getting our due, from getting equity in DCPS. And really, we're looking at the possibility they're privatizing us.
Yeah, okay. So where's all of this coming from?
Lisa, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. So bringing up all of these monies that are, being spent from the offer to retirees, which, by the way, I was offered that because I am a retired DC public school teacher of 31 years. I did not accept it and did not sign on for it because I stand in solidarity. It did happen last fall. The offer was made to retirees last fall. Of course, I was substitute teaching long before that. But when the offer came about, I would absolutely not accept it because, again, I stand in solidarity with what is going on with the whole community of substitute teachers. But a $19 billion budget was just submitted last Friday for DC public schools for next year. It was submitted by the mayor to the council. Now, money has also been added additionally for this coming year for technology. Now, I understand that. I understand that we have to keep up with the world. We have to keep up technologically in the classrooms. However, between paying contractors, between offering retirees these absurd amount of monies just to sign on, and to pay this absurd amount to aides, which actually aides need to be exactly where they are, which is in with the core teacher and the lead teacher, like Myrtle said. I don't understand why we're still being treated like this. It's just deplorable. It's unacceptable.
Okay. Judge Amin, you've been listening to this, and Leslie, I need you to take over for a few minutes. I got to let this dog out before she bites me. So I'll be right back. But Leslie, please take over. Judge Amin, you're up, brother.
Well, we have a tradition in the Muslim community based on the admonition of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who said the way to fight a thing is you have three ways. One, you fight it with your hands. If you cannot fight it with your hands, you fight it with your tongue. If you cannot fight it with your tongue, you can fight it with your actions, with your silence, with your cold steel silence. But that is the weakest of faith. And I want to commend the participants on this broadcast and those who are organizing uh, this Washington Substitute Teachers United. That is a great way to fight. You got to get organized. So not only are you fighting it with your hands, you are fighting it with your actions, because you are on the picket line, as it were, demonstrating the intolerable circumstances right in the face of the city council. I can't emphasize more the need to be organized. I think the Jay Winter Nightwolf gave a great suggestion in terms of aligning yourselves with other unions, other stronger unions. I don't know if you've gone to any of the federal or the it would be great if the teachers union accepted an overture from you. I'm interested to find out what they are saying. What is their position? Have they are they allies in your cause, or are they adversaries at this point?
Yeah.
Somebody tell
Yes.
let me know.
We can speak I can speak to that. Washington Teachers Union has been very helpful to us. It's just there are some legal steps that we have to take in order to become a part of them. We have to have signatures. We have to have signers who agree to be represented by Washington Teachers Union. We have to have a certain percentage. So that's what we're working on right now. But Washington Teachers Union, Elizabeth Davis, who was formerly the president, and the
Uh-huh.
current president, Jacqueline Pogue Lyons, they have really been they've tried their best to support us. As a matter of fact, we had a rally a couple of weeks ago, and Jacqueline Pogue Lyons, current president, invited the media. She invited her members to come out, and we had a really good demonstration, a nice flow of people and media to come out to support us. So they are there, but there are some steps that we must take in order to make it more formal than it is right now.
I have a question. Is this a plight that is occurring across the nation, or is this just centralized to the DC area? Because
Well,
I'm quite in shock over the fact that you all have not had a raise. Uh, Living in the East Coast, we all know that the cost of living here is just outrageous in comparison to, let's say, the South or the Midwest. So, how is it that you all have been managing this long, only making a minimum wage salary and
I,
not
I,
and no health care?
yeah. Again, it was not having the resources to make contact with everyone. Um, it was difficult to get emails. It was difficult to get telephone numbers. It really was for us. I had to, when we were signing petitions, we literally walked to the schools, drove to the schools, took buses to schools to see substitute teachers, to get their email addresses. I mean, physically. At
Wow.
some schools,
Yeah.
the administration was so happy to see us, they led us to the substitute teachers because they want to see us um, uh, paid well. As really, they want us to, because we will work for them if we are paid well. Okay. So they need us in the schools. They really and truly do. So some of the administrators, I'm talking about principals and assistant principals, they walked us to the substitute teachers to get their signatures as well as their information. And then again, once the substitute teachers found out that this was real, that we were really organizing, they had lists from a long time ago
Oh,
of
wow.
substitute names and email addresses, and they forwarded those lists to me. So we had meetings. We had our first meeting October 2018, and we've been going ever since. We've had some support. We have an attorney. who is pro bono because we don't have any money. She and her husband have been very helpful to us. We have people who have organized around the country. They have been helpful to us. We couldn't do this without them. And again, WTU, Washington Teachers Union, also has been helpful, but there are still some things we have to do because they don't have any, there are no laws that say DCPS has to negotiate with people who are not in the union. There are
Sam?
no laws.
But
Okay.
I'll
let's
answer
just
your
question.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let's just question though. I think it's important
Yeah.
in terms of your organization because there may be other in other municipalities or school districts around the country who have the same problem, and the more people who coalesce, unite on finding the solution to this problem, it'll just multiply. I have no
Yes.
doubt whatsoever that you are going to be successful. There's no doubt. As they said, the arc of justice is long. The arc of is the arc. It's long, but it bends toward justice. There's no doubt that you're going to be successful. But in terms of putting some putting some steam, putting some emergency, or at least some fire in this, it would be great if you had other jurisdictions: Milwaukee, Chicago, New York. Well, I was going to say Florida, but I don't know Florida.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying, because
Yeah.
if this is something that's happened around the nation, if you all present a unified front instead of fighting in a silo, this is going to, because honestly, I had no idea that you all were only making minimum wage. People are unaware of this, you know, and in my opinion, this is just another systematic, a systematic situation that is dumbing down our education system. Because let's be honest, who wants to work for $15 an hour? Who wants to do it? Nobody will. And the caliber of teachers that you're going to receive at $15 an hour is going to be, you're not going to get the type of teacher that you would want to educate your child. You know, we understand that that's a calling, but for $15 an hour and no health care, nobody would want to do it.
No, but I have to differ with you on that because I have 3 degrees. We have substitute teachers who have PhDs. We have substitute teachers with master's degrees, certificates. We want to give back to our community. All right. And that's what I call myself doing. When the children see me coming in the room, oh, Lord, we're going to hear about Africa today. Yes, you will. Okay. We love them. They get love from us. I know all the children in my school. Teachers only know the children in their classrooms, but substitute teachers know all the children.
Well, that's what I was saying.
All the children. And let me just say, yes, you're right. Under normal circumstances, maybe someone who sees $15 an hour would not want to accept it, would not want to be there. But here in Washington, D.C., as I said, we've got PhDs who are substitute teachers.
Well, but that's the point that I was going to try to make.
Yes.
You and anyone else that's in your situation has a calling. That is a calling. You don't care about the money. You care about your children. But it is a matter of fact that you must be able to survive in this world, especially living in the East Coast. So we understand that you should be paid that way. And the reason why I make that comparison, because there are plenty of women and men, young women and men, working as nurses, let's say, but they are not called to be nurses. They're going after the pay, but they're not called to be nurses. So this is the caliber of nursing that you're receiving when you go into a hospital.
Right.
You know, the lack of care that you're going to receive from somebody who's got a calling and someone who's just there for the paycheck, there is a difference.
Can I say something?
I know, Eva, you want to say something, but let me just interject something first. Is this an issue of, do you find racism in this at all? because that seems to be the prevailing factor of all of these different arguments that are happening in this nation now. Do you feel that there's, that that's part of it?
I think that it's part of it, because we have to look at our history. We have to look at how our education is not as rich as, say, Montgomery County, Virginia. We get the minimal. So I would say yes. And then you have to look at also demographics. How much are they going to contribute toward 8 as opposed toward 3 and 4? Even books. What books would we get? We would get, say, a book that might have some pages missing, whereas they would get a brand new book. So I would say yes. And I've always, I've taught from pre-K to 5th grade. And I would tell my parents, please give your children words. Please give your children a voice, be an advocate for your child's education. Because if you're not going to be the advocate for them, then they're going to be falling by the wayside. So I would say yes. Race does play a big issue in it. Your demographics, big issue.
And you got to consider also the gentrification that's going on with all of these major cities. Everybody and anybody that know me is I don't play the race card. I don't care what your color is. But what I do care about is that the first teacher to your child is your mother. And mothers do not want to send their children anywhere where they won't get an adequate education. That's just me. I got a whole slew of grandkids. I got a whole lot of grandkids. Over 30 of them. But yes, hold on one second.
Okay.
But when my grandkids started coming to my house when they were little, I would make sure that I had some money set aside, and I would take them to Borders Books. And I required them to go and pick out a book, bring it back to Grandpa so I can look at it. And it had to be at least a level or two ahead of what they were learning in school. Now, I also had a requirement. If you came over here for the weekend, before you left to go home, you had to give me an oral book report, each and every one of them. You had to stand in the middle of the floor and couldn't have any notes or anything. I wanted to know what you learned, what was in your head, not what you wrote down on a piece of paper. I had one grandson, he tried to get slick, but he got his consequences from that. So education begins at home. And if you're educating your children, your grandchildren, and they go to school and they get dumbed down because they don't have adequate books to read, then there's a problem there. Lisa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut across you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's quite okay. I wanted to kind of respond to Leslie's original question about, are there other substitute teachers in other parts of the country? I don't know if I'm fully aware. I know that in my personal opinion, I think we're embarking kind of on a crisis in education with a lot of people fleeing and leaving for various reasons, of course. But I do want to say that we have become aware of the adjunct professors at local colleges and universities are sort of coming together and unifying in terms of wanting increases in job security. Now, just this evening, Howard University, they came up with a 3-year tentative agreement for the adjunct professors at that university. Again, it's tentative. So they are sort of in a similar situation. They're sort of that per diem. They come in, they give speeches, they give a couple of things on campus, but they don't warrant any benefits or anything else that the full-time professors do on the campus. So getting back to what your statement, I'm not familiar with other substitute teachers at secondary level, but I do know that the adjunct professors locally are starting to come out and about the lack of job security and benefits and everything that goes along with it. So I think I hope that sort of answers what you were saying, Leslie.
Yeah, I did want to know that. I mean, I believe that this is a situation that is occurring around the United States. I mean, let's face it, everything that we do right now, based on like, I went to school, I was born in 1962, and my teachers thoroughly educated me wherever I went. I was not assigned to a test that verified if I was smart enough to graduate from college or high school. In other words, these systemized tests that they have right now, where we're following a specific format. When I learned my foreign languages that I learned, and I've learned 2 or 3, I was educated in that. My teacher had a passion for it. She taught me a lot of things. And now teachers today are restricted to a particular type of subject matter that they have to teach, which is, I feel, dumbing down our education. And also I wanted to say this about, elders' comment about the mother being the first teacher of her children. Teachers are the teachers of our children. If you think about how many hours a child spends in school, as opposed to what they do with their parents, and in those moments that they're with their parents, mostly those are sleeping moments and maybe weekends. But our teachers are our caretakers and our educators. And they deserve to have the cost of living that they should have, based on the fact that they're taking care of our children. And I think that our parents need to be 100% behind getting our substitute teachers a wage that's comparable to other teachers. I feel this is sad because I think everybody is just missing the mark here. We're not all fighting together on this. Parents send their kids to school. They don't worry about them. They go to their 9-to-5 jobs every day, and they're not thinking about what is going on with their child in a school. You have an individual there grooming your child to be the man and woman that they're going to be one day, the educated person that they're going to be. They deserve the right to have a better increase in pay, and healthcare benefits, and all the things that should be afforded to them, to somebody who is taking care of your child.
So we are reaching out to the
Yes.
parent-teacher association organizations in the local schools here in Washington, D.C., because you're absolutely right. Sadly, recently, there have been an enormous amount of absenteeism amongst the core lead teachers. So the profound importance and role that we play is even greater now with the absences increasing. I don't know why, but I'm not here to say why, but I do know that we're needed in every school every single day. We could work, every day if we wanted to. It's the need is there, but you're absolutely right. And I think, just like you mentioned, the nursing, a lot of nurses are per diem.
Mm-hmm.
Because they go into it because they make so much more money doing it that way, because they're contracted by outside sources. It was funny that you mentioned that. But we, on the other hand, are not being paid. We're being paid minimum wage.
And that's the point. There's a need for
Right.
you to be there, to be a substitute
Right.
teacher, because someone is absent. So therefore,
Correct.
you should be making above the amount of somebody
Right.
who is coming in,
Yeah.
per diem.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, and we have made
Okay.
contact. We have made contact with Montgomery County substitute teachers. As a matter of fact, someone in Prince George's County wants to start working with us so that they can start organizing Prince George's County substitute teachers. So area wide, we are trying to come together and coalesce and help one another. But and the only other group that we have talked with actually would be in California. California probably is they have the highest paid substitute teachers, San Francisco and Los Angeles, probably the highest paid in America.
Yep.
But we definitely are in touch with those in our
Good.
surrounding area. We
Good.
are well aware of the gentrification of our area and what is happening. Just deal with gas. Just deal with gas. If we get a $5 raise, there it goes to the gas. The gas tank. So, it's not a raise at all because it's already spent before we even get it. So being on programs like this, educating the public is so important. When I testified before the education committee several years ago, when I said substitute teachers earn $15 an hour, there was an audible gasp in the audience. I mean, a gasp, because they had no idea how low what we were being paid. It's just incredible. And after all of these years, it just doesn't make sense. So that's why when Renee and I were in the orientation class some years ago, becoming substitute teachers, we said $15. Since when? We've got to work on this. And really, we have been working on it ever since. We need the public's help, though. And Judge Hassan, I will certainly be in touch with you. Certainly.
Yes.
So that we
Yes,
can
ma'am.
get something started in that regard. We definitely will be doing this. We would like a raise like tomorrow, but it may not happen. And I'm an activist, if you haven't noticed. And
Oh, I didn't notice that.
and we definitely believe those of us who are on this call are activists. And I must say something about my husband. He came January 10th was probably the coldest day of the year. And so when I was getting dressed and he was started getting dressed, I said, "Where you go?" "I'm going with you. I wouldn't let you go out here by yourself." And it was dark, and so we went down there, and thank goodness we had to hug one another to stay warm. We could not, anyway. I must commend him for supporting me, supporting us every Monday. He's out there with his banner, saying all the chants that we say. Eva, I see your hand.
I would like to say that, more importantly than anything is that we wear many hats. Like today, it was amazing. I teach art. Today, I taught art and PE. So, it's interesting when you have to wear all these different hats, and people in the school said, "Oh, Miss Thompson, man, you wear a lot of different hats." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know where I might be tomorrow, but I know I'm going to teach art the first part of the day, but the second part of the day, I might be anywhere." And this is, and the thing is I think about is that you hire people to come in and teach our children that don't even have degrees and couldn't even think off of the top of their head what they would teach if somebody threw them in PE, or what would they teach if somebody threw them in art, or what would they teach if somebody said, "Go down to pre-K." So these are things that we have to sometimes think off of the fly. And only because I've been teaching over 30 years, it comes easy to me. But if it's someone that you're pulling off of the street to do this, it's not going to be a good class. It's not going to be a good class, and they're not going to be able to give them what they need for that day.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Prepare. Like, if I go in there tomorrow morning and they tell me that I got to teach the third grade, the first part of my morning, I'm sitting in there saying, "Okay, I'm going to do a PowerPoint.
Preparing.
I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that so I could be ready for this class." Because I don't want to go. And if you go in that class with nothing, You talking about chaos?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, let me just say this: we're coming to the close of the show, and I would like to have everybody to give us their closing statement and their closing thoughts. But before we do that, I got a question to ask. Will you all come back again for another part 2?
Absolutely, for sure. Just invite us. Can I say we really want some help from your audience. We really would like for them, if they live in DC, and as the judge does not, we would like for them to write their council member or a council member. And I would suggest Phil Mendelson, since he is the chair of the council. All right. And then we want people to come and join us on Monday mornings from 8:30 to 9:30, 1 hour, rain, shine, or cold. And it is getting warmer now. 8:30 to 9:30, Monday morning at the District Building, 1350 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, DC. Please, we're out there 8:30 to 9:30 every Monday morning. We would love you to come. And also write a council member, your council member. If you have to pick one, Phil Mendelson. Please. I thank you so very much for this opportunity.
You're very welcome. So let me get some closing words from everybody. Lisa Christopher, your closing thoughts.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having us in this platform this evening. Really, I really appreciate this. And again, it's about getting the word out. I just want to reiterate how few people really do understand our plight and what we are, the mission that we're on. I think they just don't know. So the more we can get the word out about, the low pay and the no benefits, I think, we're on our way to success. So I want to thank you, and just piggybacking on what Myrtle said. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being a part of this tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
The next person, Eva Thompson.
I'm ready.
1 minute, please.
I thank you for allowing us to get this word out to the public. Also, this reminds me, because I'm so much older, is that this reminds me of how we used to just come together and discuss how strategies on what is our next step. So if our parents of these children could come join us, I think that would be mostly amazing.
Okay.
Because then they're supporting their children's education.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Renee Richmond.
Yes, thank you so. Yes, thank you so much for having us on your show. I truly appreciate it. And like Myrtle said, I'm also an activist. And when I heard about DCPS hiring outside firms to bring in substitute teachers at higher pay, it was really like a slap in the face. And I've been coming since 2013 as a substitute teacher for $15 an hour. And I still do it because I'm dedicated to the students. So I just want to put the word out there that we are dedicated subs, and those who did not care about the students and their education would have dropped off a long time ago. But we've stayed there making minimum wages, poverty wages, because we care for the students. And we, a raise in benefits would show us that you appreciate us, and we want to be appreciated and respected. Thank you.
Absolutely. So now, I believe it's Judge Amin.
Well, excuse me, I don't have a whole lot more to say, except that it is really regrettable to see how a society will exploit the talents of those who are committed, like are these substitute teachers. And then they will oppress them with substandard wages and no benefits. So if you don't want to be exploited, if you don't want to be oppressed, you got to organize. And while you may have a calling, now it's time to lift yourself up and call attention to your plight. And I salute you, those of you who are doing that. One thing that is encouraging to me that I did not know is that the teachers, the regular teachers union supports you. And why shouldn't they? Because you make their job easier. You make their stronger, because if you've got good substitute teachers coming in, then you don't mind taking a day off, a week off, or whatever. And so that really reinforces or benefits or buttresses the regular teachers union. So Godspeed. I'm going to be helping all I can. And I think the cause is just. And because you're going to be successful, I'm going to help, because I love being part of a success story. We need more. So it's just a matter of time. So we'll keep working. And there are only two results. So victory or martyrdom, right?
There you go. There you
Our
go.
victory.
Okay, so now for my closing thoughts. I have always been one seeking more education and better education. And I've got to say this. When I spoke of my grandkids, I have a grandson that graduated from American University with a PhD when he was 29 years old and did not have to pay a penny for that education. Why? Because like him and all the rest of them, we made bookworms out of them. You know, it's not about anybody being better than anybody else. My grandfather used to always tell us that it's not about the pigmentation of your skin. It's not about the texture of your hair or the clothes you wear. It's not about your tradition, your culture, or your religion. And he would stand up in front of us when we were little kids and put his hand over his heart and ask us, do you know what it's all about? And of course, my cousin Junie would always say, no, Grandpa, what's it all about? He said, it's about how you treat my heart. Think about it. People that you meet and you don't know, be very careful of how you treat their hearts. And I'll close the show by saying this. I love you, all of you. And I'm so happy that you came to be a part of what we did tonight. In Cherokee, I would say to you, Danada, Goai, Wado. And Wado in Cherokee means thank you. Thank you all. Talk to you again next week. Take care.